All right, we're going to get started with the final session of the night. I want to take a minute, though. I want to thank our previous speakers, Alexandria French. Thank you very much for sharing your story with us tonight. And Catherine, thank you very much for being here. Lauren, thanks for all you do with Innovate Her. I appreciate it. And we're glad that you guys are a partner in what we're doing here with Sessions. So I have this amazing habit of not introducing our guests, and I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to have you introduce yourself, because I'm always worried I'm going to butcher it. I'm always worried I'm going to say, dumb things, or say something wrong about what you do or who you do, what you're up to. So it's happened actually. Tammy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I wanted you
introduce
to
yourself.
I wanted you to introduce me.
I'm not going to introduce you. I told you this is just not a thing I do.
Jeez, I don't like to introduce myself. No, again, my name is Tammy Buckner. I am the CEO of WeCode KC, and we do a lot of amazing things in the urban core of Kansas City and the community with our youth, and we just want to make sure that they get exposed to technology.
So Tammy, so part of what we do when we do these series, when we get people to talk about the amazing programs, the amazing things they're doing, what I really want to do is give people a chance to get to know the leaders. Okay. And so I want to start a little bit with you, like getting to know you. So tell me, so are you originally from Kansas City?
I'm not. I'm originally from Memphis, Tennessee.
What?
Yes.
All right.
Home
Memphis.
of the real barbecue.
Right.
Real. I had to say that. Sorry, is the interview over?
Yeah. Zeke, we're gonna need to edit that out.
You keep that in.
Or we can edit it where she says Kansas City, the home of the original. I'm gonna get you to say Kansas City at some point in this. So when did you move to Kansas City?
Right. So I moved here.
No. All right.
So seriously, I moved to Kansas City probably at the right about 10, 11 or so.
Okay, so you've been here most of your life.
I've been here most of my life. I still call Memphis home.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, but Kansas City is definitely home for me. I mean, seriously.
All right, so tell me a little bit about like your journey. So you moved to Kansas City. Where'd you go to high school? Yeah. That's a St. Louis question. Where'd you go to high school?
I know, it's funny.
And then growing up, talk to me about some of the experiences that you had growing up.
And it's so funny because even my tech journey kind of started, right when I moved to Kansas City. Because right when I moved to Kansas City, I don't know if a lot of you remember this old movie that came out, and it was probably one of the first Disney movies that had computer-generated images. And it talked about a lot of computers and hackers. And so it was probably like early 80s that came out. Okay. And I was fascinated by these computers, just fascinated. And that's when my parents bought me a computer. And so that really kind of kicked off my tech journey. And it's so funny when people hear that. But I don't know if anybody even remember the name of that movie because y'all look like y'all are really young. No. The name of the movie was Tron.
Tron, oh yeah. And everybody forgets that was a Disney movie. Yeah.
And it's so funny because that's my brother's name. My mother literally named him Tron. Yeah.
After the game? That was a video game.
Yeah,
I played that.
Right.
I used to hang out in arcades and play that game.
I used to play it. But of course, then I was the geeky, with the computers because that was just me. I was never a girly girl. I hung out with all of my male cousins and used all the control cars and anything that was electrical and blinking lights.
Who influenced that? So were your parents technically,
more electrical?
Okay.
More electrical. My uncle, my father, my mom, more electrical.
Gotcha.
I love the resistor wires and like I said, anything blinky with LEDs. And then when I got the computer, I took it apart.
You're that person.
I was that person.
All right.
I was that person. I took it apart, got in trouble, so much trouble, but I put it back together and it worked.
Okay.
So I was literally, learning about that part and coding before coding was truly a buzzword.
So where did this tech interest take you? So, you see this movie when you're 10 or 15.
Yeah.
How did that influence your educational background, influence kind of your early career stages?
And it did because, like I said, when I started taking it apart, putting it back together, just watching the movie and seeing all these things that was going on, it was just exciting for me. Even in high school, I didn't get a lot of people that encouraged me to get into technology or encouraged me to continue with that computer because, back then it was, we didn't have the motivating, oh, you need to go in computers or, because it just wasn't.
You needed to be a doctor or a lawyer. You need to be.
Well, for mostly Black women, it's you want to be a nurse or you want to get into journalism. My mother was trying to push me into journalism. I'm like, I don't even like to write. No. So, but I wanted to, I wanted to take things apart. So I started at, Central Missouri State. Now they call it UCM. Central Missouri State in computer science. And then I went to DeVry and switched to electrical engineering because I just wanted to touch all the wires. And I was probably one of 3 women in that class, and all other were all males. And they're like, this is not a good field for women. I'm like, really? I said, I like when people tell me that.
I'm about to change it. Yeah,
I'm about to change this stuff. So I almost had.
It's all right. It happens.
We do that.
Yeah, we do that. It happens.
And then I switched back to computers because I definitely love being on that side. So that kind of kept me into that space. Again, a lot of people wasn't encouraging that because you just didn't see women, and specifically Black women, in technology. But it was intriguing to me, and I like defying all the odds.
So after college, how did you apply this education that you had? You got a CS degree?
Right.
So what was your first job out of college?
First job out of college. That's a good question. It probably was at the Kansas City Star. I just had to remember that. It was at the Kansas City Star because it was mostly in...
Look, Ma, I ended up in journalism.
Well, almost, because it was more on the customer service side.
All right.
And so right around the time where the .com or kansascity.com came about, so they was putting the newspaper digitally.
Right.
And they asked, did anyone know how to build websites? And I said, does it make more money? I'm an entrepreneur. I'm like, does it make more money? And they was like, yeah, it does. And I'm like, okay, we'll figure it out. So me and this guy, we were in the newsroom figuring it out, trying to build websites. And we built the very first websites for people like the Kansas City Royals, Worlds of Fun, Oak Park Mall.
Really?
Yeah, I was in that pioneer group of doing that. And it was so much fun. It was like, okay, this is really cool. But the thing about that the Kansas City Star, they didn't realize how time-consuming it was because no one was doing websites.
Right.
So back then, they was thinking that they were going to build these websites, hand them off to the client, go to the next. Yeah, it didn't work like that.
No, somebody's got to keep it up to date. Somebody's got to do it, for sure.
Like during the Royals game, we had to update it, and this was like HTML, so there was no dynamic stuff. This was like you had to do it like literally by hand.
Yeah. But yeah, in real time.
In real time, and it was just like we had to be there all night, keeping it updated. But of course, by that, after, obviously Major League Baseball and all the other, companies start taking them over. But when the Kansas City Star decided they didn't want to continue that path, they basically shut that department down and told us that we can get other jobs in other areas. And I didn't want to. I said, I want to take the websites that we did and I want to start my own company.
Okay.
And they were like, oh, that's great, because now we have someone to, send things to or refer to. So probably from 2003 or 4, God, I'm telling my age, 2003 or 4 to about 2010, I had my own web development company.
Wow, you were 12 and you had your own web development company. So that is amazing. It's such an amazing accomplishment, Tammy.
Yeah, so right. And just think about that, because back then as an entrepreneur, like I didn't have the ecosystem that we have now.
Yeah, they weren't even called entrepreneurs back then.
They weren't even called. It was just like
you had a business. Yeah,
you just had a business. You were self-employed. There was no amazing ecosystem and all that the way we have now. There was no Keystone Innovation Lab. There was none of this.
Right.
But so I was doing things on my own. I was siloed. I was figuring it out, let alone starting a business and then a tech company.
Right.
That was more difficult, but.
So how many years did you do that? How many
7 years.
7 years. All right. Was it you the whole time? Did you hire people? Did you have a team? It was just you?
I didn't know how to do all that. It was just me. It was just me
figuring
it out, trying to learn not only coding, but graphic design and hosting and all of that stuff. I was just literally doing that on my own.
Yeah, because things were progressing pretty fast at that time. So not only did you have the work that you had to do, but you had to keep yourself educated on the front edge of all of that.
I had to keep myself educated, but right around the time when all of the amazing fast technology started coming out, the animation, the flash, like at that point, I'm like, okay, I can't keep up. I can't do this.
So then what? So you decided that you weren't going to, so you 7 years, you decided enough was enough.
Yep.
Did you hand it off? Did you sell it?
I did. I handed it off to other people that I found out that they were starting to do web development.
Okay.
Kind of handing it off to them. And then I started at a digital marketing firm in Kansas City. They were like, well, we see you're doing a lot of different things. And they wanted to hire me as a software developer. And again, I still didn't have mentors. I still didn't have people to encourage me. And, you know, sometimes if you're doing things on your own, you don't have someone else to help you and to encourage you to keep doing that thing.
Right.
So when I went to the digital marketing firm, I started out as a business systems analyst, and that was making sure that technical documents was written for the dev team. Mm-hmm. So, and that was, at that point, really opened my eyes to technology. Like at that point, I see, oh wow, there's people that actually do the graphics, and there's someone that, you know, build the wireframes, and there's someone that tests, like, that was all me. You know, I did all of that.
Right.
But now you have a team, and that was just so eye-opening.
Yeah, that realization when you realize that you've been doing the job of 7 people is, right. Life-changing.
Like, how did you live? How did you do this? But it was great. And then again, at that moment, I realized how lucrative technology really was.
Okay.
At that point, I'm like, wow, I am never getting out of this industry. And why aren't there other people that look like me? You know, and I'm in this room, and time and time again, I'm in rooms, and it's all males, all men. I'm like, okay, this is a little different. I don't see people. I don't see other people. And sometimes I didn't feel like I would fit. Mm-hmm. You know, being a business analyst, you're normally, you know, running the teams. You're making sure everything is in place, basically a project manager. Oftentimes on, you know, usually it was a Monday or a Tuesday, I'd come in and all of the guys was talking about something. And I knew, I'm like, okay, I don't know what they're talking about. I didn't fit in. And this was when, I don't know if you remember this it was a show called The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
They'd always be in there, and I'm like, okay, I got to go binge watch this thing so I can.
Just so you could fit in.
Just so I can fit in.
Oh, it's a terrible show to have to binge watch to
right,
fit in.
Right.
Yeah.
So I had to go binge watch this so the next week I could talk about it. And I felt, I'm like, okay, this doesn't even feel right that I have to do this.
So were these kind of those like steps? So I was going to ask you, like, what was that catalytic moment, or what was that like time where you realized that you needed to go do what you're doing now? Like, what was it that was there a moment?
So to go do what I'm doing
with WeCode,
yeah. That during all that time.
Or was a series? That's what I said. It was a series of things.
It was a series of things, and I kept saying, no one in this space looks like me. How can I make a change? What is there something else I need to do? And I would talk to friends. I'm like, why aren't you in tech? Like, do you know how much money you can make? Like, it's a great, and I kept, people are looking at me like, yeah, but that's not what I do. I'm like, yeah, I know, but you can change. Like, you really could go to school and you can do this and you can do that. And they're like, yeah, no, that's not what I want to do. But I wanted so many people to have this same thing because it was great and it was exciting for me. So I'm like, how do I get other people to do this? And that's literally, I started doing different things, getting involved with other nonprofits such as Mind Drive. I started mentoring at Mind Drive. Then I started going into the communities and start working with like Ivanhoe Community Center.
Right.
So started talking with young kids and young people and like trying to get them exposed to technology. I started taking classes on my own so that I can come back and teach them what I've just learned so that I could start. So that was like 2013, 14 that I started really putting the seeds and planting the seeds for WeCode because I was just trying to figure out how do I help someone else.
So when did WeCode officially start?
WeCode officially started in 2019.
Okay, but you were doing similar work. You had kind of started the process earlier than that, right?
Started the process, planting seeds, going to different nonprofits, mentoring, going into the communities, talking to kids, young people, and just trying to figure out how can I help.
Tammy, I got to ask, because this is one of those things. I've had this conversation with Anita Davis here at Goodwill and some other folks, but why do kids not see this as a path for them? Like, that's, what is it? Is it, or is it not one answer? Is there not one thing there? Is it a series of things?
It's probably not one thing, but the one thing that I've seen, because they don't see the glitz and glamour. It's tech. The only thing that they see are men, white men, slunched over a computer, coding.
Driving back to that nice house and that nice car.
That's
and
the
that.
part they don't see.
Yeah, right.
They don't get to see the nice cars and the nice things. And it's so funny because sometimes I do have to talk about the sexiness or the cool part or and I have to be transparent sometimes to these kids. Because first of all, how much money do you make? Well, okay, I can tell you how much I've made. So we have to be transparent, because the only thing they see, or the only people that they see making the kind of money that they want, football players, basketball players, artists, rappers.
Right.
Well, I want to do that. I want to do that. Well, you have less than a 1% chance of being a football player.
Right.
You have less than a 1% chance of being a basketball player.
Right.
Even we're talking about rappers, and I mean, like, how often do you see that? I said, but you have a 98% chance of being a software developer. Weigh your odds out.
For sure.
So that's the kind of transparency and the conversations that we have to have with our kids, so that they can see not only does representation truly matters, because now they can see, and oftentimes I ask them, what tech CEOs do you know? And of course, the same people, they say Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg. Okay, what are the commonalities? White men.
Right.
And so they're thinking, I can't do it because I am not that.
So I saw a recent, I was going to ask you about this, and I can't remember, I was so prepared to ask you about this woman, and I can't remember her last name. Now, Mira, I think is her first name. So the woman Chat GPT, right? This whole AI thing, everybody's, Sam Altman, the founder of the company, Sam Altman, this amazing tech career, but they don't understand the CTO of that company is a woman.
Yes.
The woman the person who's responsible for the AI, responsible for all of the things that are going into probably one of the most amazing technology revolutions that's happened in the shortest amount of time in our lifetimes.
I love it. I love it. And those are the examples that I try to show as much as I possibly can, so that they can see, there are women in tech.
Right.
There are black women in tech.
Right.
But they just don't see it as often.
Do you ever find, when we were starting Keystone, one of the themes that we wanted to really focus on was design, and this idea that Kansas City is a design city, whether it's architecture, whether it's graphic design, there's just so much design that happens. Absolutely. And we had this conversation with the kids. We were trying to help them see this as a path. Yes. Help them see design as an opportunity. And it was less about the money that you can make as a designer or the careers you could have, but instead it was, all right, those shoes you're wearing, that car you think is cool, these amazing things in the world. And then somebody said to me one time, everything except the sun and the moon has been designed. Right. And so like all these things, like somebody had to design that. Somebody had to but I think it seems like you could do the same thing with tech with, hey, these amazing apps that you're using on those phones that you're like, can't get your face out of. Yep. Like somebody built that.
Somebody built that and that somebody could be you.
Right.
You could be that creator. You don't have to be the consumer all the time. Someone had to create that video game that your father spent $65, $75
right.
on. And look at the money that you can make after that.
Yeah, for sure.
And I love the idea of the design, because when you think about the technology behind that, a lot of times they need to see that design. There's a location that we're thinking about taking the kids out in St. Louis. I think it's close to St. Louis, but it's a tech, and it shows how to put they put the air in the tennis shoes. So I'm sitting there looking like, okay, well, I obviously would have thought it just.
They don't pump them. Just don't pump them up. It's like my basketballs. Yeah.
So it was just great to be able to see that design. I definitely want them to see that. So,
All right. So WeCode, tell me about how the program works. So what exactly do you guys do? How does the program work? How do kids get involved? Like, walk me through, what you do at WeCode.
Yeah. So we have not even implemented our programs in the schools. So right now it's a lot of word of mouth, social media, a lot of friends, family, sharing, conversation and talking about what we do, why we do, and who we do it for. So we started at age 7 years old, and obviously the goal was to make sure the kids in the urban core get exposed to technology and cybersecurity, because normally the schools are not able to provide these skills. We're teaching our kids everything from Python to Java, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and these are in-demand programming skills. And when someone says you teaching a 7-year-old how to code, we teach 7-year-olds how to code because our goal is to build a passion for technology. If you don't know it at the earliest age possible, then you likely, by the time you get to high school, it's not too late, but it's a difficult time to get into it.
Yeah, they drop out of middle school. Like, the out of interest in technology, those types of things is early.
Right.
Very
You
early.
have to do it as early as possible. Not only that, this builds their confidence level. It teaches them critical thinking skills because, yes, we likely will not know what jobs are going to be available in the next 5 to 7 years. But the skills that we're teaching them are critical thinking skills. So whatever job it is, they have the skills to actually get into those jobs and get into those spaces. So again, we do a lot of social media. We introduce normally we were on the first and third Saturday. Now we're first, second, and third Saturday. Normally it's a 2 to 3 hour program. They come in, they sign up. So they normally sign up before they get there. And we have a lot of volunteers. So a lot of my tech friends became volunteers of the program. It was amazing because we've had donations from companies like Microsoft and Sideris that they donated laptops.
That's great.
Yeah, it's been amazing. Sometimes we get kids that they don't have devices at home. And I'm able to donate a laptop to them if we need to. But normally they come to our program, we have the laptops, we have high-speed internet, thanks to Community Builders of Kansas City, the space that we're in. And we have different teachers or instructors that go through a curriculum. And these curriculums are normally from industry professionals.
Okay.
So they're already in the industry. They know what our kids
adjuncts
need.
per se, like
Yes.
people. Yep. Okay.
Basically, like adjunct professors. They know what these kids need to progress in the workforce. And normally the kids are progressing through different projects. So they may start at Scratch, which is a block-based oriented programming, and then they go into text-based. So they may select that they want to go into JavaScript or Python, and they just continue to move through the program.
They pick their path. Like
they pick their path. Some of these kids know.
Yeah.
Some of these kids know Python. Like, they know what they want to do. They know they want to get into robotics, or they know they want to get into machine learning. So they know, and then a lot of it is more mentorship.
Yeah.
Because if they don't know, we like to talk them through things, and most importantly, take them to different areas so that they can see. We invite guests to come in from different organizations, VML and Burns and Mac. We invite them to come in so kids can see what they don't normally see. They won't know if they don't see it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So we do get to bring in guest speakers and people that are in that tech space, working with aerospace engineers, mechanical engineers, so that they can see, what they would like to do when they get older.
How many kids in the program?
So it varies. We normally see about 45, 50 kids on a Saturday.
Okay.
Most of them are in Scratch because as you get more advanced programming, it starts getting smaller. Last year, we impacted 627 kids.
That's amazing.
So again, we haven't even implemented it in the schools yet. And that's our goal this year, is to implement an after-school program in our schools.
What's been the most surprising thing for you as you've built out WeCode?
Nonprofit work is hard as hell.
Oh, yeah. Can I get a big round? No, we shouldn't be applauding that.
Right.
No.
Nonprofit work is hard. It is not for the weak. It is not for the weak. It is not. It has been, something that I'm so passionate about and something that I love. Because one thing that I love, we normally work with what we call a Raspberry Pi, which is this tiny little computer that looks like the size of a credit card. I love working with Raspberry Pi. That's just like, I get to work. But of course they push me out. They're like, no, you don't get to do this. Because now it's like, I have to go over here and find the money.
Yeah.
So, but when you're so passionate about something like that, like it didn't even feel like work. But then you think about, I'm recruiting, I'm hiring, I have a team now. oh, it's not just about me. It's not just about money, to pay my bills. Now I got a whole team.
Yeah, that's different pressure. Yeah,
That's the pressure part. At the same time, it's so rewarding because when I have a team that execute, a team that's mission aligned, and they're just as passionate about it, that's the rewarding part. So it kind of covers up the challenge.
I always tell people, they're like, I don't know if I want to manage people. I'm like, do it. Like, if you can get a team working in the same direction, if you can get a team, like the things you can accomplish with the team of people, it's so, but it's hard, but
it's hard.
It's so fulfilling.
But it is very fulfilling. But I have an amazing team, and I love that we are so aligned. They get me, and they know. And it's so funny because anytime I come in and we have a team meeting, and I'm like, okay, I had an idea, and they're like, oh, Jesus. And it's like everybody started writing, and I'm like, what? I'm like, well, at least I didn't email it to you at 3:00 in the morning. I mean, like, I waited till our meeting.
I used to do that. It was terrible. What's the hardest thing? So you say nonprofit work is hard, hard as hell, I believe you said, and I'm not going to argue with you. Say more about that. Like, what's the hard part about running a nonprofit, or what's the hardest part about the work that you've been doing?
Yeah, and the hard part about is raising money. And we've heard the data, we've heard the statistics. Black women don't get funded, less than 1%. That's the difficult part, because when we see the things that we're normally trying to solve a problem. And it's not like, yes, of course, some of it is fun, but it's always we're trying to solve a problem. So why not invest? So that's the difficult part. And you're sitting there and you're like, you have to understand what we're doing. And it's not about padding our pockets. It's about we're trying to get our kids, in this situation, we're trying to get our kids involved with something that they're not going to get during school. So why not be involved? Why not invest? We're right here in Kansas City. Kansas City is, first of all, and I heard before, how all the things that we're doing in Kansas City in regards to, obviously the Super Bowl and the airport and all these things that we're doing. Like, Kansas City is literally a great place to raise a family, obviously. And then it's that tech hub. Mm-hmm. There's so many organizations and companies coming here. Why not invest in a program that's building out a workforce program? We are building out a way for our kids to get jobs. Not only does that help increase economic growth, and it reduces crime, and it gives these kids something that they can feel safe.
Idle hands, right? Like,
it's so funny you said that, Kevin, because I remember my mother used to say that to me all the time. Idle hands is the devil's work.
My mom too, yeah.
Never understood what that meant until I had a teenager. I'm like, ooh, wait, that's what that meant. So now you have to keep them busy.
That's right.
Keep them busy. So
they go find trouble. Their inclination is not to go find good. Their inclination is to go find trouble.
Exactly.
So,
and they will find it. If they don't find trouble, we'll find them.
For sure. So, this is a hot button for me. So we talk about this gap, and the Panasonic plant's coming, and we need 4,000 engineers. And Ray Kwolek stood on stage, was like, "I'm blocking my website for your website from all my employees." I mean, I don't blame him. And we talk about the NFL draft, and we talk about all these things, but like in less than 2 weeks, the NSBE conference the NSBE annual convention is here.
So exciting.
25,000 people descending on Kansas City. Half of them Black engineers, half of them Black engineering students. Yep. And yet I don't see us rolling out the fanfare and the red carpet like we would be.
I haven't seen too much exposure, promotion. I mean, because I'm in that space, I know about it, but there's no board, there's no boats. I mean, there's nothing, which is baffling to me. And I'm like, we're getting ready to host one of the biggest, and all these engineers, Black engineers, like, where's the hoopla? But you're talking about the NFL draft that's way in April.
Right.
And that's not putting money in, that's not giving them kids scholarships.
Right.
So why is that not being promoted the way it should be promoted? So you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So with WeCode, where are you going next with WeCode? So like when you move, or when you, like, what's the next step for you
Yeah.
with WeCode? What's growth look like for your organization?
Yeah. Growth looks like, again, like I talked about, implementing programs in different schools. That's definitely growth.
How's that going? So are you working with the schools now, and it's just a matter of the cadence of what you do and what they do? You just have to get it lined up and start programming?
Yeah, it's basically that, and more so funding,
Okay.
because, we can't do that for free.
Right.
So it's all about the funds and making sure that they can actually afford the program. And if not, where can we get these funds so that we can hire? We need to hire people. We need to hire staff. We need to make sure we have the materials and things like that. And then more so, because we in the urban core, it's that barrier of transportation. Are they coming to us? Do we have to go to the schools? Our goal is for them to come to us.
Right.
So another goal as we grow is to build a makerspace, a space where kids can come right here in the urban core, that they can be innovative, they can see creative things, and they can learn, they can touch, they can feel. So all that growth, and as we're continuing our strategic plan, we want to teach the teachers. Teach the teachers how to implement technology in their curriculum. A lot of times they just don't know how to do that. Also, just building out a pathway for the workforce in Kansas City. We have a huge tech hub, and it should be built based off of our kids. Allow the teenagers, instead of going overseas and getting technology talent from there, start here right at home.
Right. Develop the talent here. Plant the seeds now.
Absolutely.
I always, we always, and I feel bad saying this since Catherine was up here, but we always romanticize like our sports teams, and everybody wants to, we always talk about like, you want kids to grow up and feel like they want to play for the Royals. We should do a better job of, you want kids to grow up and feel like they want to work at Burns and McDonald. They want to work at C2FO. They want to work at Sideris.
And we're doing one thing to that. I'm glad you mentioned that, because yes, we love our sports team. And it's funny because in high schools, they always have these athlete signing days.
Right.
So we want to do the same thing. We want to have a signing day at the end of the school year for STEM. So we can bring out all of the Siderius and
kids that are getting scholarships to go.
Kids are getting scholarship or getting jobs.
Right.
So that's exactly, we'll have that STEM signing day. So that's the big goal that we want to do instead of an athlete signing day.
Are you doing that, or it's just an idea?
No, it's an idea that's actually coming to fruition.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yes, and that's what it's all about.
Hold up their Sideris jersey.
Exactly. Hold up their jersey.
And their number is pi.
That part.
I just came up with that. I came up with that.
I like that. Pie is next week. So
seems like a good idea. I don't know.
Put that. I got you, Kevin. I'm going to give you credit for that one.
My work here is done.
He's done.
So what advice? What advice would you give to the younger version of yourself?
I was hoping you didn't ask me. That was the question I said. Actually.
Is that the one that I said? Yeah.
Oh wow! What advice would I give my younger self? I would probably say, Tammy, when it comes to friends,
about to get real.
Quantity. It's quality over quantity. Quality over quantity. You don't need all these friends around you. You need a few good friends that you can call on in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
You can call on any time that they're going to get up, they're going to say yes, they're going to do what needs to happen.
Yeah.
So quality over quantity. What people think about you is none of your business. Don't worry about it. Keep doing what you're doing.
Just keep building what you're building.
Keep building what you're building. Always put God first. And stay consistent. Stay consistent. And just keep growing.
Say more about that. When you say stay consistent, what's that mean to you?
Stay consistent mean, and like when you asked me about the steps it took for me to get to WeCode, it's funny because I've been doing this for years. Mm-hmm. Of course, people now see the fruits of my labor.
Sure, it's like you started it yesterday.
They think, oh yeah, you just started WeCode last year.
Right.
Yeah, how about like maybe 10 years ago?
Right.
I've planted seeds. It's just growing. Now, stay consistent, because truly I could have okay, it didn't work. Okay, I can't find a building. Okay, I can't do this, and I stop. And a lot of people stop because they don't see it happening right then. Stay consistent with whatever you're doing. Be obedient, and I'm a very religious person, I'm sorry. So be obedient and stay consistent, because it will happen. If you're doing the work, you keep your faith, and the consistency is so important because it will eventually come.
I've reached a point in my life where what I do right now is about, I use the word legacy, right? It's I want something that is here when I'm gone.
Absolutely.
And Craig and I always have this conversation, or we always have this thing now where, you know, it's one brick at a time. Like, how do you build something that's going to be around after you're gone? It's one brick at a time.
I love it.
And it's a slow build. People, like, a lot of people don't realize, you know, they're like, oh, you've only been doing this for, like, Keystone's been open for less than a year. This is amazing. Like, the first paper I wrote that has the word Keystone Innovation District was in 2012.
See.
So it's been a long haul. So I appreciate what you're doing.
And it's like it didn't have WeCode, but it had something on it. But and it's so funny. I'll post that sometime on social media. Like, I have receipts.
Right.
I have receipts. Trust me. Like, I have been writing this down for years, talking about what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. Just didn't know how. So the consistency, yeah, you have to do it. You have to stay consistent.
So Tammy, you're queen for a day. So we've now anointed you Queen Tammy. What's the one thing that you would change as the ruling entity of Kansas City?
Just one? I got 24 hours. I only got one thing to change.
All right. No, if you want to list some things off.
For 24 hours, I get to be queen. I mean, you know, I think about homelessness. I mean, I think about that. Give everybody a house, affordable housing.
Mm-hmm.
And I commend teachers. I think teachers should make just as much money as doctors do.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, and I would.
And why don't nurses make as much as doctors do? Right?
I would immediately make a mandate, like, teachers, give teachers raises, give them as much money, you know, as possible. Most importantly, humanity. I mean, that has to, you know, remove all the wars, you know, peace.
You're a peacetime queen. I like that.
I'm a peace.
I like that.
I like
peacetime rulers. That's fantastic.
I like it.
Do you know Rachel Jefferson and KCK?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So Rachel said something. We were doing a ULI webinar during the pandemic. We were all at home. So I was doing this thing from home where I was hosting this weekly webinar for ULI, and we got her on. The topic was affordable housing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I love what you do because Rachel said something that has stuck with me ever since. She said, can we stop talking about making things more affordable? Because things are never going to get cheaper. Can we start talking about how we enable people to make more?
Absolutely.
To afford more.
To afford more.
And so I love what you're doing because you're actually taking the, you know, like, we can focus on making things more affordable.
Yeah.
And there needs to be efforts and there needs to be focus on those things. But why aren't we putting more focus on giving people paths to afford more? Because the world is not going to get cheaper.
The world is not going to get cheaper. And when I talk about technology, and when I know that technology is the fastest growing industry to make the most money possible. And I would never, just recently, you know, so you get on LinkedIn and you get these jobs that are recommended for you.
Yeah.
Just yesterday, and I took a picture of this because I want to share this. Just yesterday, it was a job recommended for you, $800,000 a year.
Why are you here?
$400.
I mean, I got to start now. I'm going to cast some judgment. Now, why are you here?
Why?
Yeah.
Because it's not about me.
It's mission.
Because I want other people to get involved with tech.
Did you show that picture to your kids?
I'm going to show because it says job recommended for you. Like, do you know where I could really be? But no, it's not about me. It's about what you just said.
Will you
making
sure. Will you send me that link, by the way?
Yes, I will.
Yes,
because I had to make sure that it showed my name.
Right.
But I'm just like, it's what you just said, making sure that they can have jobs to afford the houses.
Right.
And it's not only that, is to have investable wage jobs. Because not only do you have the money to live, but now you have money to invest in other things. So it's not even just about having a livable wage job.
Yeah, we stopped talking livable wage here. We talk about, or living wage here. We talk about thriving wage. Like, if we don't have people that have thriving wage opportunities, living wage is not going to get it done. You don't build generational wealth with a living wage.
Not at all. Not at all.
So,
I love that.
What, you know, we asked this question. I started hearing this question at 1 Million Cups years ago. It was how they ended every 1 Million Cups. They probably still do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the question as much because it assumes that community is a monolith. It assumes community is like a thing and one thing and has one perspective. But I got to ask you, what can we, say the innovation community or the entrepreneurial community or the civic community or these specific communities that make up Kansas City, what can each of them or what can they do collectively to help the work that you're doing?
Yeah, thank you. I think it's more so, first of all, supporting by spreading the word.
Okay.
Let people know what we're doing, who we are, why we're doing it.
How do they do that? So where do they go to? So what's the website?
So website is WeCodeKC.org.
Okay.
And we are WeCode KC on every social media. Share our events. But most importantly, come out and volunteer. You don't need to know tech. You just want to make a difference with our kids. And when you do come out and volunteer, stay. One thing about kids that we normally work with, they're so used to people leaving.
Yeah.
They're so used to people walking out. So when I ask volunteers, when people come and volunteer, I'm like, can you commit for at least 6 months? And it's not every single day. It's one Saturday for 2 hours. 2 or 3 Saturdays out of the month that you can give your time. I mean, it's a feel-good thing. Just to volunteer, it makes you feel good. And then there's this spark because the more you teach, the more you learn.
I always, I was telling the guys from Waywo earlier, every mentor that I've ever gotten, corporate mentor that I've put in front of an entrepreneur, without exception, have come back to me and said they got more out of mentoring that they feel like that they shared with the entrepreneur.
Absolutely. You get more out of it because then you look at these kids and you see things and you see in their eyes and you're like, how can I not come back? How can I not share my knowledge with someone else?
So where's your shortage in volunteers right now? Like what kind of skills are you looking for? Like if I were to, put out a post right now and said, hey, we're looking for people that do X or Y or Z, what are those? So
number one, we are looking for people that would like to show kids how to build websites.
Okay.
And they can be very basic. They don't have to be, all of this. The basic of basic websites, and that's normally the basic HTML and CSS. If you want to teach the kids that, that's great. Other areas is basically just helping around. Normally it's just we might need someone to help. Some of the kids might get lost and get them back on track, or some of the kids over here might be on their phone. Get them off their phone, make sure that they're paying attention. So very generic.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Come be parents. Come adult.
Come be a mentor.
Oh.
Come be a big brother, a big sister.
Okay.
Yeah. Come and do that and just hang out with us.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So if somebody's interested in volunteering, go to the website?
Go to the website and click on volunteer.
Oh, that's simple. That's easy.
If you want to donate, go to the website and click on donate. It's great because, even the smallest amount helps. It helps us purchase laptops. It helps kids go through 8-week programs.
Yep.
So definitely go to the website, WeCodeKC.org. Come out and volunteer. Like even if you just want to learn yourself. We have CTOs from My Sidewalk. We have computer engineers from Cerner that are there, even if you want to get in technology. So we're building a partnership with Launch Code. Where's she at? We're building a partnership with Launch Code.
I was gonna ask. I didn't know if there was like beef. There was like this like
no. There's no beef because it's so funny because oftentimes people will say, well, what about
there's
WeCode?
enough work to go around.
Man, look, there's so much work to go around. But it's like, what about WeCode for adults? I'm like, so I had this interview. I'm like, oh no, I don't like adults. Like, don't get it twisted. I don't like adults. I like the kids that I can help mentor them. But no, we've partnered with Launch Code. So when we do get people contacting us, we pass them over to Launch Code. Yeah, it's amazing because they have an amazing program and it just encourages the pipeline. So even if people from Launch Code, they have younger kids, they want to throw them over to WeCode. So just think about a whole family.
Right.
But yeah, we're definitely building that pipeline. And I love working with Pan in that group and Launch Code. So yeah.
That's fantastic.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Tammy, thank you for what you're doing. I mean, thank you for all Kansas Cityans. I can say thank you for what you're doing. Thanks for building that pipeline and inspiring kids to be involved in STEM or involved in tech. I'm amazed that you start at 7. I think that's such a great opportunity for these kids. Let us know how we can help.
Awesome.
And if anybody's interested in volunteering or helping out, WeCodeKC.org.
Yes.
Please, hopefully you'll get a couple out of tonight. Will you come back? Tell us about
absolutely.
when you get the school program going.
Yes, we have I'll mention this really quick. We have a spring program starting March 20th, and our kids are building Piecades, which are desktop video games. So if you want to come out and see the kids building Piecades using a Raspberry Pi, some of the younger kids are going to be doing building games with its game development for the entire week of spring. So I'll put that out there and send some information over. But yeah.
That'd be fantastic.
We appreciate it.
And if you show up, don't expect to get any pie.
Don't expect to get any pie.
It's not how it works.
It's not. It's a Raspberry Pi.
Thanks, Tammy.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yep.
Thanks.
All right.